Hello, my name is Bronwyn Ayla, and I want to talk today about healing and health. I have a healing practice where people come to me with different kinds of things happening in their lives and they ask for healing from me. And it's important to know or ask or keep the inquiry alive of what actually is that. So many traditions have different ideas about the answer to that question. When I ask some of my beginning students this question, they say, well, it's about eating healthy or exercising every day or, spending time in nature and different ideas like this. And I think all of those are true. There's different lifestyle habits that can contribute to us being healthy. But to really answer the question of what is healing, we need to look at what is health. And different traditions have different models of health. And some of them have no model at all. For example, it's difficult to know what exactly Western medicine views as health. And much of that is so influenced by the pharmaceutical industry that it becomes really difficult to answer that question without their impact of finances. I have sometimes people come to me in my practice who say, well, I'm basically healthy. I just have this knee injury. And then I'll look at their chart and they're taking a cocktail of like 5 different medications. And I'm like, so you're basically healthy, but your knee hurts, So in that sense, Western medicine often defines health as our biomedical values being, if they show up accurately on different kinds of tests, then we're healthy as long as we're taking the correct cocktail of pharmaceuticals that keep those balances in check according to their view of what is normal. And we know that those levels often change depending on how much of their drugs they're trying to sell. And then there's other models of health. And often when we learn Western medicine, we learn it through the eyes of pathology. So for example, learning physiology, we learn what can go wrong with the liver or what's the pathological problems with the heart, rather than looking at what is a healthy functioning heart look and feel and how is that alive, right? So the only reason I'm talking about that is because I think that really influences a lot of people's view of health, even though it's not really maybe so well thought through in terms of what it's actually serving people. So if we look at health from a different lens, you could say, well, it's about having healthy spirit, for example, or a healthy body, whatever all those things are that could mean, or about having a healthy emotions, which is very political in some ways. I mean, often women will come to me and say, I need some help. I'm having really strong emotions right before I get my menstrual cycle. I'm like, oh, it sounds like you have a healthy liver that's processing emotions. That's a healthy thing for you to have lots of feelings before you get your period. So for example, it might be that you're, 1 month, for the rest of the month, you're fine cleaning up the kitchen, cooking everything, and ironing your husband's shirt. And then once a month, you're like, I am so sick of this. What do I actually want to do with my life? And they're like, oh, you have a problem. It's PMS. You need some help with this issue. We need to get you calm again so that you can keep going serving all these other people, right? So I think it's important to really look at this issue and to really think about the body in a holistic way, meaning if we have a healthy physical, emotional, mental, spiritual self, whatever it is that might mean to each person, that's one thing. But what about if these selves are able to communicate with each other? Like if the emotional self is able to communicate with the spiritual self and vice versa. And if the spiritual self is able to be in harmony with the physical body, so the physical body that's like, oh, I actually exercising and moving every day feels really good, and I notice that it enlivens my spirit, and that these parts of ourselves are communicating and in harmony, so that even if the higher self is like, oh, I want to do yoga every day, and the body's like, oh, give me pizza and TV, right? Then these selves are not in harmony with each other. So taking a step further from having simply a healthy physical, mental, emotional, spiritual self, we also can look at the community that we're in. Is our tribe healthy? Is our planet healthy? Are the people around us healthy? Our sangha, we say in Tibetan medicine, or in Buddhist philosophy, religion. And if the people around us aren't healthy, then it's very difficult for us to maintain a high level of health. Sangha is a super important part of our practice, our surroundings, what we consume. And then there's also the environmental health, which in this moment is having a super hard time with all the deforestation and acidification of the oceans and all the things, all the extinction. And so it's quite difficult to maintain a healthy inside when our external self, the external environment is really suffering. And so it takes some extra effort. And until quite recently, meaning until the Cultural Revolution in China, Chinese medicine was completely uninterested in biomedical views of tests and results of what is health. Health was like, are you a good person? Are you empathic? Are you helping the people around you in your community? Are you doing good work in the world? Right? Or in Buddhism would say, are you on your dharma? And this is actually a super important topic, because if any of you that are practitioners out there, if we only treat people until their cholesterol levels are fine, right, or their tests come out normal, but they're not actually doing anything if they're not kind to people and they're going home and they're beating their animals or whatever the thing is, then we're doing a disservice, right? Because then they're just healthy enough to keep harming other people. Or if they're going home and building shopping malls and cutting down forests because they feel better after our treatment, then we're really not doing a service to humanity. I think that health is really about connecting to a deeper wisdom in ourselves and finding out what it is we came here to do on this planet. Who are the person that you are born into? How did you shape yourself? What was your original plan for yourself? Or as Lonnie Jarrett says, what is the nourishment of your destiny? Right? And so those are super important issues. And often I think Western thought has failed in all of our individualism. We've failed to really look at environmental factors and how those impact us. For example, with eating disorders, we often treat women or girls or anyone who's having an eating disorder individually without looking at all the magazines and all the cultural influences that are trying to make women in particular smaller, or having us contract, or having us take up less space, or just feeling horrible about our bodies because of all of these photoshopped magazine and TV and movie media images of how we should look in order to be desirable. So an environment can be our community. It can also be the world the environment that we're in terms of the forests and the natural world. I mean, even just all the plastic that we have and are consuming through plastic bags and plastic packaged food products, and all the hormones that are now in our food from people taking hormone replacement therapy and birth control. And it's just shocking. Like it's actually, it's quite shocking. And so the amount of things that we need to do in order to remediate these influences is a lot. So again, often, I guess I want to talk a little bit more about treating dis-ease. When people come in, for example, and they say, my shoulder hurts, I want help with my shoulder. And then we start working with their shoulder, and it turns out that they're, not actually able to reach for what they want in their lives. Or, often dis-ease can be a great messenger for where we're not living our full potential in our bodies, in our world, in our lives. So people who stop at fixing, for example, again, going with pharmaceutical, if you take a narcotic or a painkiller or even an anti-inflammatory that's going to stop the pain, it's not going to actually address why in the first place one shoulder started hurting. And so we could be stopping actually an evolution in our lives by not addressing that original cause. So often when people come to me in my practice and they say, my shoulder hurts, can you fix it with acupuncture? I say, yeah, totally. Come every week, we'll keep you out of pain. You'll be able to keep doing your computer work and keep sitting in your car and doing everything that you're used to doing, eating the same foods, just keep everything the same. Come every week, we'll keep you out of pain. You'll put my daughter through college. It'll be just fine. Or you can change what you're doing in your life and choose to transform. And then, 4 sessions will probably be enough. It's like, what do you actually want to live into? Where do you actually want to heal to? And healing in that sense is not about fixing something that's broken, the way we would with a bike tire that's flat. You say, okay, well, let's repair it with the glue and the patch, and hopefully it'll be as good as it was, almost as good as it was before it got the nail stuck in it. And in healing, we're not really going for fixing something that's broken. It's a different model. We're wanting to transform. We're wanting to transform into somebody different than we were when we allowed the injury to set into our bodies, or when we called that into our lives, actually, so that we could take a step forward on our evolutionary path personally, right? So healing in that way is a process of transformation. It's not about fixing something, it's about transforming into the next version of ourselves. And I think health is also really about decolonizing the body. So many of us have had so many people, images, activities that have actually colonized our systems, so that our posture is more like, this computer posture than our upright, vibrant selves, or, we're so influenced by what it is that we're doing every day. And by all the media and all the people and all the ways that we're told that we're supposed to be or not be. You don't show off, don't be too loud, or whatever the messages are that we've received our whole lives. Healing is about decolonizing this system, this body, this tool, this vibrant aliveness that we have the potential to tap into, to move in a way that is fully embodied. So I think ultimately, when we look at health, it's really individual and it is a process, and I don't think it's helpful to be constantly stuck in a paradigm of like, I need healing. Well, maybe if I do this ceremony, or maybe if I go see this practitioner, or maybe if I do, this much yoga every day, or maybe if I was more disciplined, or whatever the things are. I really encourage us all to find a way to sit and stop and check in with ourselves and constantly be updating the firmware of who we are in this moment. Like, maybe health looks very different when you're a mom than before you had children, or maybe health looks really different as we're elders, right, than when we're children. What is healthy for a child is not the same as what is healthy for someone in their 30s or 80s. It really shifts. So I think constantly taking the time to drop in to find out, is how I'm behaving in the world kind? Is it compassionate? And if not, I might need to get some help, right? Because ultimately we want to be in a place of kindness and kindness also to the planet, so that we're not raping and pillaging her. We want to actually stop and try to help and be in harmony. And that brings me to the last thing I want to talk about, which is that health also changes with the seasons. And there's along with a Cartesian tendency to compartmentalize the body, was also this very strong individualism about, I'm it's all about me, and if I can just have all these superfoods and all this stuff and eat the right things and be my own alchemist internally, then we're somehow separated from our environment. And I think that that's very damaging, not only to ourselves but also to the environment. If we don't stop in midwinter and take some time to chill out and be in the dark and be quiet, and if we keep working as hard as we did in the summer and keep extracting resources from the planet in the same way, we're just going, and there's no time for any kind of rest. So our yin doesn't get tonified, and also the planet's doesn't get a chance to rest. The planet's yin doesn't replenish, which is really what we're seeing everywhere with the fires in California, with the earthquakes, with the lava. It's like there's the resting place has been really missing. So again, in my practice, I often see people who come in November in the autumn time and saying, oh, I'm feeling a little down. I just don't have as much energy as I used to, and I'm feeling a little bit more sad. In fact, I have sad. There's a name for this in Western medicine, right? The seasonal affective disorder. Like, they actually made a disorder out of being affected by the seasons. Like, this is pathologized, where I would, in Taoist medicine, we consider this a great sign of health. In the autumn time, we do want to stop and slow down and start to drop into our dream world and our internal place and environment. So again, if we're behaving at winter solstice the way we did at summer solstice, we're going to cause more disharmony and disease in our bodies. So I think that health really needs to also be taking into accordance the environment and harmonizing our cycles with the cycles of the earth and the cycles of the moon and the cycles of our body. So it's kind of a lot to cover in a short amount of time, but I wanted to get those thoughts out. I'm in Peru right now in the mountains, and just like really feeling the beauty all around me, and I just got really inspired to talk about what is health and healing. So I hope that was helpful for you. And if you would like to find out more, my website is www.bronwynayla.com. That's BRONWYNAYLA.com. Take care.